Hello everyone. Today we are going to discuss the good, the bad, and the ugly, weight and appearance at work by Kylie Newingham, Raisa Rodriguez, Riley Mallet, and Zara Rubawi. Are weight and appearance a disability or a stereotype? About 74% of US adults are overweight. This is more than 2 in 5 adults, or 42% according to the CDC. With a demographic this large, we can surely say it is a discriminative characteristic just like your race, culture, skin color, or hair type can be. Based on our research, it is hard to quantify the percentage of people that get discriminated against based on weight and appearance, but it happens more often than many of us are aware of and more than it should. Obesity is a complex disease that can result from many different circumstances and does not speak on the character, willpower, health, or capability of individuals. Just like your skin color, hair texture, or the culture you were raised in, it is often out of your control. It comes as no surprise then that this demographic suffers from discrimination in organizational spaces too. Our research will demonstrate how discrimination comes in varied forms, micro and macro, and looks different from case to case. Nonetheless, it affects our presented group just the same psychologically, socially, financially, and in terms of opportunities. Diversity in organizations, weight and appearance-based discrimination. Today we will discuss how weight and appearance can have an impact for individuals in the workplace. What federal events have impacted our group concerning weight and physical appearance? The barriers faced by our group, and the interventions discussed in our research. To start us off, is weight a basis for discrimination? Does the eye of the beholder matter? Here's an overview of how weight and appearance have become a part of a marginalized group in our society and how they are represented and are protected. Weight and appearance-based discrimination, lost perspective, protections, and contentions. Here we have the Americans with Disabilities Act of 1990, the Crown Act, and Abercrombie & Fitch's lawsuit from 2003. Let's start with one, the Americans with Disabilities Act of 1990. The Americans with Disabilities Act became law in 1990, and it's a civil rights law that prohibits discrimination against individuals with disabilities in all areas of public life, including jobs, schools, transportation, and all public and private places that are open to the general public. Weight-based discrimination in particular, however, has proven to be elusive in terms of anti-discrimination legislation. Weight is often required to be a disability in order to offer the same employment opportunities and protections as other groups. The ADA defines disability as having a record of a physical or mental impairment that substantially limits one or more major life activities of individuals, including caring for oneself and working. But what happens when there is weight-based discrimination but no physical or mental impairment? Is it still considered discriminatory? Since the 1990s, the record of obesity in the United States has increased. A considerable demographic of the population has reported struggling with employment, often suspecting their weight and appearance as the ones to blame. More than 40% of US adults report experiencing weight-related stigma at some point in their lives. According to a recent SHRM research of the state of weight discrimination in the workplace, 72% of US employees who have experienced unfair treatment at work due to their weight say it has made them feel like quitting their jobs. The same research also shows that 11% of HR professionals say an applicant's weight has played a role in decisions the organizations have made during the job application process. Combat erroneous perceptions about the handicapped, they expanded the definition of disability on the ADA. Disability was expanded to include discrimination against a person who has a record of or is regarded as having an impairment, but who may not at present have an actual incapacity at all. This is where many individuals have found some level of protection in the ADA as seen in the following cases. Of course, there are many more cases where it has not been ruled as discrimination, but in these cases, it set the important precedent of a demographic that does need protection and that does face discrimination in the workplace. HRM research found that obese employees are perceived as lazy, unmotivated, unprofessional, while average weight employees are more likely to be perceived as high-performing, hardworking, and motivated. While the ADA does not explicitly say that it protects against appearance and weight-based discrimination and treats cases concerning these types of discrimination on a case-by-case basis, it is important in protecting and preventing discrimination based on weight and appearance, especially because since then many extensions have been added to the ADA and several new and pending state and local laws are adding new anti-discrimination protections based on personal appearance. It is important to set these laws in motion and to make employers and corporations responsible for providing ways to navigate discrimination and encourage and enforce inclusivity in the workplace. Now here we have the Crown Act, founded by Dove and the Crown Coalition to ensure protection against discrimination based on race-based hairstyles by extending statutory protection to hair texture and protective styles in the workplace and public school. In research done by Dove and the Crown Coalition, the following statistics were found. Here we can see that Black women's hair is twice as likely to be perceived as unprofessional, that 54% reported feeling like they had to have straight hair to raise likeliness of getting a callback from interviews. Black women with coily texture hair are twice as likely to have experienced microaggressions in the workplace than Black women with straight hair, and 20% of Black women ages 25 to 34 have been sent back home because of their hairstyle, while 25% of Black women believe that they have been denied a job because of their hair. Another study by the Crown Act, by the Crown Coalition, done in 2021, that reports the following. 53% of Black girls report experiencing discrimination by age 5, while 86% of Black teens report feeling discriminated against based on their appearance or hair. That's a pretty big amount. Trauma from these experiences and hair dissatisfaction has led many Black teens to miss more days of school than white students, ultimately affecting their school success and grades. The Crown Act provides protection against discrimination based on hair textures and styles in the workplace and schools. By recognizing cultural significance of hair and its connection to racial identity, the Crown Act aims to create a more inclusive and equitable environment. It is important to push companies in school to employ ways of embracing diversity. The world is a better place when we feel like we don't have to change ourselves to fit in, and when we embrace all of our differences. Here's a map that shows the progress that the Crown Act has made. The places in blue are where the Crown Act is law. The places in purple is where legislation has been filed or pre-filed so that it is law, so that it becomes law. And the gray areas is where it has not been filed yet. And you can see that they have made a significant amount of progress and that it is recognized in many states as law. Now we have Abercrombie and Fitch's lawsuit from 2003. Let's take a look at it and why it is important. In 2003, a class action lawsuit, Gonzalez versus Abercrombie and Fitch stores, was filed against the clothing retailer. The lawsuit alleged that the company was discriminated against minority applicants and employees, particularly Black, Latino, and Asian American individuals. Eduardo Gonzalez, the lead plaintiff and a senior chemistry major at Stanford University at the time, said that when he applied to the Abercrombie store in Santa Clara, California, managers urged him to apply for the overnight stocking crew. Allegedly, when a store manager interviewed him and 13 other applicants at once, the manager overwhelmingly favored the 2 white applicants. Many other applicants who were turned away and hired for less visible and profitable positions joined the lawsuit. It was found that Abercrombie & Fitch followed very rigorous requirements to have a very American classic homogeneous look throughout its stores. From the hiring process to a close monitoring of its marketing and branding, including practices like sending representatives out to stores throughout the country to take pictures of their employees, to send to headquarters, to make sure that they were fitting the look. This is in page 2 of the court documents, linked at the end. Abercrombie & Fitch had very strict guidelines for who they wanted the face of their brand to be. Here are some key findings and details from the case. There were discriminatory hiring practices, as we discussed in the last slide. There were rigorous monitoring of who their brand representatives and who they wanted to market, and it was not minority employees. They usually got low visibility back of the store jobs, such as stocking cleaning, rather than prominent sales positions. They also were found to have racial profiling and microaggressions at work. Some plaintiffs alleged that they were racially profiled and subjected to discriminatory treatment by store managers and other employees. Here are some outcomes and interventions that came out of this case. Abercrombie & Fitch was to pay $40 million to several thousand minority and female plaintiffs who were discriminated against because of their appearance, whether it was race, looks, or background. They were to implement a diversity recruiting and training program for all employees, especially those with hiring authority, and to assign a CEO to this diversity training who reports directly to the CEO. They were to establish benchmarks for hiring and promoting marginalized and minority groups, including but not limited to African Americans, Latinos, Asian Americans, and women. They were also barred from utilizing and employing previous recruitment styles and strategies that targeted predominantly white sororities and fraternities. Abercrombie & Fitch did not admit to guilt. They did agree to implement new strategies to make sure the stores would be more inclusive in its aspects and processes. The case highlighted the ongoing issue of racial discrimination based on appearance in the workplace and the importance of diversity and inclusion in corporate America. It raised questions about the role of corporate culture and marketing in perpetuating discriminatory practices and had a lasting social impact, which made brands rethink their inclusivity instead of imposing an unattainable image of whiteness or perfection on individuals. The NAACP Legal Defense Fund, who represented the plaintiffs as part of the broad coalition of civil rights groups, changed the game and had a tremendous impact on how major retail stores and their marketing operate by intervening in systemic ways that incorporate more inclusive hiring practices, job assignments, promotions, and training of employees. This sent a clear message that individuals who are discriminated against because of their weight or appearance need to have a voice and deserve equality in the workplace, especially in a fat-phobic society. Cases like this one have helped in raising awareness and the need for research on intervention methods that address these issues in organizational spaces. Here we can see a chart that shows the wage gap between obese and non-obese workers from 2006 to 2022. According to research done by the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, when researchers separated men with bachelor's degrees, those classified as obese earned 5% less than their non-obese colleagues, and obese men in the survey with graduate degrees earned 14% less than those who are not obese. This data is similar to women. They found obese women with bachelor's degrees earned 12% less, and those with graduate degrees earned 19% less than their colleagues who were not obese. A meta-analysis of empirical studies of weight-based bias in the workplace. A qualitative review, discrimination and workplace outcomes. The meta-analysis integrates studies to get a quantitative idea of the prevalence and prevalence impact of weight bias across different types of workplaces, and it points to the measurable consequences this bias inflicts on personal well-being and organizational productivity. Some of the barriers found in the study are, for example, workplace marginalization and bullying. It has been reflected in the review that obesity individuals face workplace bullying or social ostracism and hence have become recluse and depressed, affecting their health and their performance a job. Most decisions to hire depend on unconscious biases against higher weighted individuals, hence making people with obesity disproportionately lower in the higher paying and higher status jobs. Weight stigma also tends to lead to overlooking employees for promotions or pay raise. It has been revealed that studies studying the meta-analysis that employees with higher body weight were less likely to experience promotions or pay raises, regardless of employee performance. It follows them to work where it affects career opportunities and promotion abilities. Research has shown that the pressure of appearance due to societal forces can amount to chronic stress. Chronic stress, as it were, has been linked to various health conditions, including cardiovascular and psychiatric problems, especially when such weight-based and appearance-based bias continues over a period of time. This epidemic of obesity is prevalent and affects millions, resulting in stigmatization. The victims of such discriminations are likely to have absences due to stress-related illnesses, reduced productivity at the workplace, thereby overall curbing their career advancement prospects. Some of the main points to take away from this is that discrimination based on weight and appearance leads to negative outcomes in hiring, promotions, and workplace dynamics. Empirical studies link weight-based discrimination to lower job satisfaction and increased stress. Implemented solutions to address discrimination. Due to the negative effects that come from the discrimination of weight and appearance, some organizations have incorporated policies that make the environment more conducive. Companies focus on educating employees against bias and create an environment that tolerates and embraces diversity. The continuous education and support reduces the negative impact caused by looks discrimination in the community. Community programs aimed at promoting healthy lifestyles among marginalized groups is one good way to combat this type of discrimination, as well as advocating for policy changes to enhance access to health care and resources. Finally, reinforcing inclusive standards is essential. Although society beauty standards are deeply ingrained, initiatives like social media campaigns are shifting norms towards more inclusivity. While federal laws like the Crown Act and high-profile cases bring attention to these issues, everyday efforts within companies and communities is also necessary to promote acceptance and diversity. Educating the public, educating employees, especially those with the authority to hire, is also one of the main steps in making a difference. Fostering company culture of inclusion. For example, some companies are attempting to reshape culture in the workplace through progressive behavior. The list includes challenging odious stereotypes, promoting health lifestyle programs that are supportive rather than punitive, and flexibility in the workplace that allows bodies of every shape to be productive and feel like they belong. In a study, research found that severely obese participants were more likely to experience employment discrimination. Experiencing that discrimination due to weight issues, people tended to report experience with weight discrimination the most. This study added statistics that resulted in people who were overweight, obese, or severely obese reporting these discriminatory acts more often and efficiently than individuals who held a more normalized weight. These factors explain that researchers who conduct experiments based off aspects like weight and appearance often find that individuals of that characteristic will often take initiative to report and stick up for themselves. There have been reports that many overweight individuals will claim that they are the target of derogatory humor and unnecessary comments from coworkers and managers and supervisors. This also has been an ongoing issue with not being hired or allowed less benefits due to weight and appearance. Weight discrimination happens in many ways in the workplace. We often see unfair hiring practices that are based on refusing to hire qualified job applicants because of their body size, individuals obtaining fewer promotions, receiving stigma or stereotypes from coworkers and supervisors. Weight and appearance discrimination is nothing new. It has been occurring for years. So what can we do to reduce those reports of weight discrimination and increase the uplifting, thriving work environment for years to come? Here's some listed strategies that can help further reduce weight discrimination. First, employees should tread carefully. All employers need to engage in the interactive process with employees who suggest that they may need some type of accommodation. Some other options are implementing no-tolerance policies that prohibit weight discrimination, training hiring managers to recognize weight-related biases during the selection process so candidates are fairly evaluated, and removing weight loss-based wellness programs that might carry with them a negative tone or a blaming tone of the individuals. And lastly, we need to ensure that there is adequate seating and space accommodation for people with larger body sizes so that they can perform their work well and feel good. If employers address weight-based discrimination in the workplace, it is bound to make it much easier for all employees of all sizes to feel more included and welcome and perform better at their jobs.